Autumn scents, scraping the moss, squashing the little bugs that emerge from the cracks in the paving, burying them carefully in the warm loam. Everything in the garden is lovely, in a dying kind of way.
Monsieur Tom! Longworth! Téléphone! C'est Monsieur Constant! Monsieur Tom!
Coming, Madam Annette. Jeff, is there a problem?
There is, rather. A man from Connecticut called Murchison bought a Derwent from us. Thinks it's a phony.
Which it probably is, right?
Yes. Yes, it's one of Bernard's forgeries. So
Long may he remain in Connecticut.
that's just it, Tom. He's coming to London, to the gallery tomorrow. So I was wondering if you could. You see, Bernard's in a flap. He can't cope with anything since Cynthia left him, and he thinks we're all going to be found out. And, the Derwent exhibition's opening this Friday, so, well, maybe if you had an idea. You're always so good at ideas.
I have 2 Derwents. Derwent himself painted this one before he died, the red chairs. 2 terrified little girls amid a fire one hardly notices at first, but when one does, the emotional effect is shattering. And over here, one of Bernard's forgeries, man in chair. A man with several outlines, as if one were looking through distorting eyeglasses, seeing the several people inside any man. I love both pictures, but I prefer the forgery, man in chair. I sit back listening to that opera, thinking about disguises. I phoned Jeff at 2 a.m. with the idea.
Or an Albanian.
I'm sorry, Tom, I'm not with you.
Cozy Van Tutti. I was listening to Mozart. They pretend to be Albanians.
But it certainly wasn't Albanian.
No, he was from Utrecht. I'm saying I could come over and be Derwent, direct from his Mexican hideout. Who's to know the difference?
Tom, what a brilliant idea.
Derwent has been dead for years. Jeff, the agent, Bernard, the painter, and me, whose idea it was in the first place, we keep him alive and enjoy the profits from the paintings and the art supplies, the pencils and the posters. Heloise would be appalled if she knew my only source of income was... But she's away in Athens, so I'm free to fly to London, buy a little Mexican ring on Bond Street before going to the gallery on Wardour Street. Soon, Jeff has almost turned me into Derwent, with a beard and a new hair color and some contact lenses.
Here, look. Bet your own wife wouldn't know you. Oh, I love the ring, by the way. Nice touch.
An old Aztec design. Man in my village swears his great-grandfather made it himself.
Great. Oh, come on, let's go in. Bernard will be hovering. He's in a bit of a state. Go see if you can convince him.
Bernard looks terrified, biting his nails in front of a forged Derwent, one of his new ones, a gray, fretful landscape beneath the purple sky.
Bernard, how are you?
All right. Thank you, Tom. You do look quite like him.
And how should I,
He walked with a slight stoop.
And the voice, like this, would you say?
Deeper. More of a monotone.
And this man Murchison?
Murchison, according to Jeff, thinks it's about returning to an old technique. Since I took over, something about purples.
Bernard, are you all right?
I've had just about enough, Tom. You know Cynthia won't see me. And lately, I've been trying to paint as myself again, be myself again, and I can't seem to. And this Murchison fellow really is onto something.
Time we were going in, Mr. Derwent.
In a moment, Jeff.
Tom, you must stand by the fact that the clock is an authentic Derwent.
Trust me.
And then there's man in chair that you've got, and the tub. It's in the show.
They all use the technique Murchison is talking about, right?
Maybe. Yes.
And why... Jeff, why don't we just take the tub out of the show?
It was announced on the program. If Murchison sees we've removed it, I think that would be worse.
I'll make myself scarce.
We need to go in.
Do you intend to live in Mexico indefinitely, Mr. Derwent?
Just Derwent is fine.
Tell us the name of your village.
No, I can't. It would compromise the people what lives there.
Derwent, some have said that your work resembles Picasso's Cubist period.
And they are entitled to their opinion.
Does Mexico inspire you? There are no canvases with a Mexican setting.
The real test for Derwent isn't them, of course. It's when they've gone, and he has to meet.
Mr. Murchison, from Connecticut.
How do you do, Mr. Derwent? What an unexpected treat to meet you here.
The gallery is doing me the honor of an exhibition. And you, Mr. Murchison, what brings you to London?
You, of course.
Of course.
Well, to come to the point, the provenance of certain of your pictures. Mind if I show you this one?
Sure. Jeff, perhaps you would like to leave us.
Yes. If you need me, just give me a shout.
I'm interested in a certain change of technique in this, the clock. Do you know this picture, Mr. Derwent?
Just Derwent is fine.
You remember painting it?
I forget them as soon as but yes, it is my picture.
Derwent, it's the purples that interest me. This here, the shadow of the minute hand, is straight cobalt violet. You can see that better than me. But if I'm not mistaken, you abandoned cobalt violet for a mixture of cad red and ultramarine, 5 or 6 years ago. And I bought this 3 years ago. When did you paint it?
It could have been 4 or 5 years ago. Jeff will know.
I have verified the dates. A painter doesn't usually go back to a color he's discarded. Now, the tub here is dated only last year, and it has the same straight cobalt violet in it.
The guy has an eagle eye and the look of a predator.
You definitely remember painting the clock.
I know it's my picture. I don't remember dates, I'm afraid. I might have been in Greece or...
If you'll excuse me, Derwent, I think you've been forged. I'll stick my neck out farther. I'll bet my life that the clock isn't yours.
Everything okay?
Sure. Mr. Murchison was just saying.
I heard about the clock. It came with 2 or 3 others from Mexico. Derwent always sends 2 or 3 at a time.
Yes, it has a date on the back, written in the same black paint as Derwent's signature. I had the signature analyzed in the States. That's how carefully I've gone into this.
Well, I painted this in Mexico if the date's 3 years old. And Jeff will have his paperwork.
A receipt for a certain number of paintings in a certain year, without even a title to them. Am I right, Mr. Constant?
Well, we're confident of the authenticity of the pictures we've sold you, but we are men of honor. So, what would you like us to do? Refund your money?
Thank you, but I'm more interested in my theory than the money. I'm seeing a woman at the Tate in 2 days' time to get an expert view. Please understand, Derwent, and you, Mr. Constant. I mean nothing against you in the slightest.
Oh, no, it's fine. I quite acknowledge I forget many things.
Still, we'll see what the lady at the Tate has to say. Are you still going to be around then?
I'm not sure of my movements, Mr. Murchison, but the gallery will know where I am.
Yes.
Anyway...
It's been a pleasure, Mr. Derwent. And you too, Mr. Constant.
This could sting a bit.
How?
Tom, we have to decide what to do. Murchison is going to want to see you again.
Yeah. Maybe we could change the date for the red chairs.
It's in too many catalogues.
Or Bernard could do some new canvases with the cobalt violet.
You saw how Bernard is, Tom. Since Cynthia left him, he's...
Not reliable, no. Jeff, you're right. We have to do something. If his clock is shown to be a fake...
So are lots of others.
Where's Murchison staying in London?
Hope you enjoy your stay at the Mandeville Hotel, Mr. Ripley.
Thank you. Me too.
Jeff's worried about the risk, so soon after Murchison meeting me as Derwent. But the Edge is a good place to sharpen your wits. Who on earth is that at his table? What's Bernard doing with him? Telling him the story of his fraudulent life? Finally, he leaves without seeing me, looking nervously pleased with himself.
Pardon me. Didn't I see you at the Derwent show today?
Why, yes, I was there. I have one of his pictures myself, you see, and while I'm working
And pretty soon we're through with Derwent's odd personality and on to our amazing art collections.
So I'm pretty much convinced my clock isn't a Derwent.
Well, that's interesting. My man in chair is maybe 4 years old now, and it has some purple in it. Though whether it's this,
Cobalt violet.
Cobalt violet, I couldn't say. Sounds like it might kind of prove or disprove what you're saying.
And I certainly wouldn't mind looking at that Poussin you said you had.
Just a couple of drawings.
Don't suppose you live nearby, Mr. Ripley.
France, I'm afraid.
A little late to check out France tonight.
Yes, but there's always tomorrow.
Adamant, don't they say?
2 brandies later, we're up in his room, gazing at his picture with his damned cobalt violet in it. And I'm being fascinated by his theories.
So, maybe this Jeff Constant is putting up a few forgeries to sell more Derwents than Derwent can produce.
You don't think...
I don't say Derwent's in on it, but he's so absent-minded. He can't remember how many pictures he's painted.
You make me wonder about mine. I wish you could come and see it.
How far do you say your place is from Paris?
Less than an hour. You don't mean you...
I could postpone this woman at the Tate.
Well, you're very welcome. My wife's away right now, and...
Let's do it then. Book me on your flight, would you?
Yeah, right away.
Did I tell you I had a visit from this man?
What man?
Bernard Taft or something. A painter. He seems to know more than he was saying about Derwent.
And what did he say to you?
Just warned me, man to man as you and I are now. Don't buy any more Derwents, Mr. Murchison. What do you think about that?
No, I haven't heard from Bernard. Should I have?
I'm worried he's going to blow up. Will you speak to him? Tell him Mr. M is going to wait a few days before he does anything about his Derwent.
But how do you know this American is going to hold off for a while?
Because he's about to stand in my living room and admire my genuine Derwent.
That's a masterpiece. That's the real McCoy.
We washed down our steaks with a good Margot from the cellar. Murchison admired the meal, the house, my life, all that he threatens.
I think this is a forgery. You see, the same purple turns up again. The quality is different. Something you can't measure, I know, but I'm also sure about it here.
Maybe he's just using the cobalt violet and the later mixture of purples alternately.
I don't see it that way. You don't believe me, I can see. Well, that's your privilege.
Well, you're welcome to take it to your expert when you see her next.
As soon as I can rearrange it, next week. I most certainly will take it. I'll even insure it for you.
Oh, don't worry, it's insured. You know, it's a funny thing. I still like man in chair, even if it is phony.
Maybe if it were proved to you that it was phony...
Maybe.
It'd be very interesting to know who's doing the forging. I wonder, Derwent was pretty positive with me. What if he's in on it? Another thing, there've been no drawings by Derwent for years now. That's odd.
You think so?
Drawings reveal an artist's personality. Just because I'm in manufacturing, people never give me credit for sensitivity. See, a drawing, it would be like a very complicated signature. Hell to forge.
Okay, I'll lay my soul bare, show him my paintings, the poems I've written to Heloise, stripped naked, do a sword dance, if he'll only see things my way. What can I offer him? One more plea over breakfast.
But then there's something wonderful about a very good fake, too, isn't there? Take one Magrin.
Oh, forgive me, Mr. Ripley. I know you admire your fake.
As you see it.
But I don't understand your total disconnection with the truth of things. An artist's style is his truth, his honesty. Has another one the right to copy it for gain? A reputation built on a man's talent?
Reputation. Truth. It's no use, is it? Time for his farewell gift.
Watch your head as you turn. Just 2 more down. That's it.
Oh, quite a collection.
Yeah, over here. Sorry, the bulb's gone. Look, Margot. You liked it at dinner last night.
Thanks. That's terrific. I guess I'll save it for the folks. Tell them about this cellar when we're celebrating suing Mr. Constant over his so-called Derwits.
But...
I know. You like your painting.
Yeah. But, I mean, you won't possibly change your mind about speaking to the expert in London? About...
Why would I do that? Tom, I can't for the life of me see why you want to protect these people. Unless...
Yes. I have an interest in it. You see, I know the young man who spoke to you at the hotel the other day. He's the forger.
What? That
nervous fellow? Yes, Bernard. He told you not to buy anymore. Isn't that enough? He wants out of it. I mean, what if he kills himself out of shame?
He might have thought of the shame when he began. It was you, wasn't it?
Me who what?
Your hands. You can't disguise them, can you? They're the hands of the man I thought was Derwent.
Can't you just let it go? Bernard's pictures are good. You can't deny that. So why not just go back to Connecticut and forget...
No, I'll be damned if I'll keep my mouth shut. For all the wine in your cellar, paid for by fraud. Let me warn you, you better not...
The coal scuttle just happens to be there. He's not moving. So much blood. Or is it wine? Why wouldn't he understand? So unreasonable. Think. Need a blanket. Not this way. Madame Annette's in the kitchen. Damn. Backstairs. Break the light bulb so she won't dare come down. Bit of a cut. Stop it bleeding. Mr. Murchison must leave as he was intending. I can mop up later. For now, finish his packing. Just his top coat and his toilet bag and his suitcase. His damn picture. Never even unwrapped it. Pride goeth before a fall, Mr. Murchison. Time you were at the airport. Outside departures at Orly, I leave his suitcase with his wrapped picture. A muffler over my mouth as if for the autumnal chill. No one sees me. Now, Madame Annette must be faced. What should I like for dinner?
Le boucher, il a gigot beau.
Meat?
Anything without a bone in it. Even without blood. But vegetarian would be going too far for Madame Annette. It would look conspicuous to lock the door of the cellar. I'll mop up the bloodstains when she's in bed.
Tom, I really need to speak to you if you are willing. Yours, Bernard.
I must write to put him off. For now, it's more urgent that I bury a body.
Bernard, did you get my letter? Only I didn't hear back from you. I don't know whether I can go on.
Bernard, I can't hear you. Call back, will you? Call back. Hello?
Tom, it's Jeff. How are things there?
Murchison left for London yesterday, but I don't think he's going to talk to the Tate woman. I'm sure of it.
You persuaded him?
Yeah.
Tom, you're a genius.
So you stay calm there. You and Bernard.
He's depressed. I'm trying to get him to go somewhere, but he's always like this when there's a show, but it's worse because of Murchison. I even tried Cynthia, but she won't talk to him. So I've got him on sedatives, mild ones. I slipped one in his tea this afternoon.
Would you tell him Murchison is sedated?
Yes, Tom. Sedated.
The wind keeps me awake. Or perhaps a dream. When I wake, the trees are silent. Just after Madame Annette has gone to market, there are visitors. Police. They must be senior from Melun. I know the local fellows. I could pretend to some difficulty with language, but unfortunately one of them speaks excellent English and knows a disturbing amount about my movements.
You are at the same hotel as Monsieur Murchison, the Mandeville in London, and arrived on the same plane.
Yes?
And on his departure, you accompanied Monsieur Murchison into the terminal?
No, there was no parking, so I let him out with his bag and his picture.
Ah, yes, his picture. He doubts the authenticity of this picture, we understand. But Derwat, this is?
The clock, yeah. He wanted to compare it with my Derwat's here. And I think he...
Where is this painting now?
We took it with him.
It is missing then. Like your guest, huh?
I sit in the summer house and try to get back to a portrait of Heloise. When Madame Annette brings coffee, she alarms me briefly with her tale of walking back through the woods.
Un monticule, comme un tombe.
A mound like a grave. It can't stay there. The wind's getting up. A little rain. I should have cabled Bernard to put him off. Suddenly, there he is. An apparition in the garden. Looks like he's dancing. Bernard! Come in! Bernard! You'll catch your death!
Like it! I really do! I feel like this!
Bernard! Come in!
I was myself in the rain. That's become a rare thing.
Don't you have a suitcase?
No, I just came over on a hop.
Bernard, why don't I get you a drink and a toothbrush and...
I feel like I'm at the end, you see. This is the end. The show was the end. It's the last show I can paint.
You want me to close those drapes or shut the window?
No, it doesn't matter. I want to know... What did Murchison say? I know red chairs is all right, but what about man in chair?
He said he thought it was a forgery.
Right.
At first. But I persuaded him it wasn't.
How? How could you persuade him? He's right. I made mistakes, man in chair, the clock. I don't know why. I wasn't thinking. What's he doing now in London?
That doesn't matter because I persuaded him.
I can only think of one way you could persuade him, one wild way.
What do you mean?
You persuaded him to let me alone as an object of pity. I don't want to be pitied.
Bernard, there was no mention of you. Okay? There wasn't.
You can't imagine what it's like. I mean, in a way, I have to make more of an effort to be myself nowadays than I do to be Derwat. I would like to give myself a chance. Wipe the slate clean.
Bernard, that's really not a good idea.
I'm going to admit what I've done. See if people will accept me. Forgive me. I think Cynthia would like it. I get so nervous, scared when I'm painting Derwats. But I know she still loves me. If I'm painting my own work...
So you're writing some sort of confession?
No, well, yes. Well, it's a sort of statement for the press, or anyone.
Bernard, you mustn't forget there are others involved.
I won't drag you into it, Tom.
I need to get the phone. Hello? The police. Coming around in the morning with an English inspector who hasn't contacted me directly. So the English must already be treating me as a suspect.
Excuse me, Bernard. Can I put on the light?
Of course. What's the matter?
Bernard, I'm in trouble. And I'd like you to give me a hand, if you will.
Oh. What's the trouble?
Well, you were right. There was only one wild way to persuade Murchison to leave us alone.
Us?
You, me, the gallery, everyone who knows about Derwat. Bernard, Murchison is dead. That's why you don't have to worry.
Why didn't you tell me?
Because I killed him here in the cellar, and the police are coming around to look in the morning.
Killed him? But why?
In the morning, so I have to move the body. It's in the woods. It'd be much easier if there were two of us. And we'll need to do it while Madame Annette is asleep.
But if you don't want to help me...
I'll help you. For what it's worth. What else can I do?
Bernard seems resigned. I've half expected him not to come. But his plunges with the fork are so effective, I wish I'd given him the shovel.
It's very heavy.
What if I try and prise it up?
The trench is too narrow. It's like something is sucking Murchison's body back into the earth. Some force working against us.
Let's really give it a heave.
Okay.
One, two, three.
Body in the car, we filled the hole, tools away, edge out of the track. Gotta use lights now.
Thanks, Bernard. Everything's fine.
Where are we going?
I know a place, 8 or 10 kilometers from here. A bridge. Let's try and drop it right over the middle. All right. Here? Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Sisley painted this bridge. Just this angle. Is that why Bernard's lingering? Oh, no. Oh, Bernard. Police car, blue light. Bernard's figure all lit up. I don't know why it hasn't stopped. Has it? No.
He came back to Moray to paint, Sisley. An Englishman in exile. They say the Moray baker would give the family bread because it was so poor. Now his stuff's worth millions.
Bernard. There's a man from London police arriving in an hour. Now, he may want to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right? Now, you never met Murchison. Never had that talk with him in the Mandeville bar. Do you understand? Have some...
Coffee.
Okay. You never even heard of him. You arrived here 24 hours after he left to go to London. You only heard his name when I mentioned it, all right? Bernard?
All right.
I believe, Mr. Tufts, that you know Mr. Jeff Constant of the Buckmaster Gallery?
I used to know him, yes.
He hosted the opening of a Derwent exhibition only last Wednesday, at which the guest of honour was the artist himself. You went to his show, I suppose, Mr. Tufts?
No. I may go later. I became upset about anything to do with Derwent after his disappearance.
Why is that?
I'm very fond of him. I thought, when all the fuss is over, I'll catch him before he goes back to Mexico.
Well, if you can find him, which is more than my colleagues have been able to do, perhaps you'd tell him we'd like to speak to him about a possible forgery?
Oh, I'm quite sure Derwent wouldn't conspire in any forgery of his work. May I...
what makes you so sure?
If I can just read you something. I copied several things from his London journals that he left behind when he went abroad. There is no depression for the artist, except that caused by a return to the self. The self is that shy, vainglorious, egocentric, conscious magnifying glass.
Bernard's better than I thought he would be. Rather amazing. Hypnotizes the frowning inspector.
In the moment of grappling with the enemy death, the potential suicide calls upon his friends. One by one, they are not at home.
He was suicidal, then?
No. I read you this to show you that Derwent is an honest man. No dishonest man could have written this.
I only wish my own performance were as good as Bernard's. Webster waits outside for his taxi. I can't help thinking of the disturbed ground up among the trees.
You asked Mr. Murchison over here with the idea that your paintings could be forgeries too?
I admit I was curious, but after seeing my two, Mr. Murchison thought they were genuine.
Now, the lost picture, the clock. Mr. Constant says that's genuine. But I only have his word now that I can't find either the artist or Murchison, who was last seen with you.
As I've explained.
Plus, there's more to Derwent than the painter himself, isn't there? Derwent prints, Derwent art supplies, the Derwent art school in Perugia. If we throw forgery into all this, well, we've really got something, haven't we?
As a simple collector...
Ah, there's my taxi. I expect we'll be meeting again, Mr. Ripley.
When I go looking for Bernard a little later, he's disappeared. Madame Annette didn't see him leave, but his things are gone. And who has arrived in his stead? Heloise.
He had to hide the champagne. That's why he filled the pool with it. Then we swam in it naked. Oh, if only you had been there. But you were busy in London.
Yeah. Look, I came back with a man called Thomas Murchison.
Mm-hmm.
He's disappeared.
There is problem?
Some trouble about paintings, that's all. Hey, there's no need to change right now, is there?
Tom, I cannot wear this outfit that I've been traveling in.
Oh? Perhaps I should fill the bath with champagne.
No need, Shelley.
I already told Madame Annette we wouldn't want to be disturbed, but...
Yes, that's nice.
Oh, it smells delightful.
I go downstairs after a little sleep. There's the half-prepared salad, and the cellar door open, as if Heloise gone for a bottle of wine. Has she seen the bloodstains?
Heloise! Chérie! Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Oh.
Is it someone? Your friend who is missing?
No, don't worry, it's a dummy. It's not real.
Quoi?
Here, touch it. An effigy. It's not a body.
Bernard, a straw effigy in Bernard's clothes. Later, when Heloise is asleep, I slip down and find a note in the pocket of the trousers.
For Derwent, I kill the self that I have been for the last 5 years. Now to continue and try and do my work honestly in what is left of my life. BT.
And the next morning, he's back without explanation.
Needed to clear my head.
He wanders around glassy-eyed, playing Mozart impossibly loud, driving Heloise crazy.
If you don't put this fool out, I am leaving the house tonight.
He really is in a bit of a state. I do kind of feel responsible for the guy.
What is this? You can't tell him to get out of your own house?
Heloise, I'm sorry.
I will tell you when I am at Chantier.
Look, don't worry, I'll sort Bernard out and call you. No need for more than a change of clothes. Heloise.
What have you done, Tom? Did you do something to this Murchison?
No. Don't worry.
Then why are the police coming again?
You understand, Monsieur Ripley, this is simply routine for me and my French colleagues.
Oh, sure.
Stand on the bloodstain, Tom, and smile, and hope there are no signs of Murchison behind the cask.
Il y a rien ici. Et maintenant?
And now we'll take a look at the garden and the woods, okay?
You have permission? You understand the words are nothing to do with me. Les bois
We
et les
understand, Mr. Ripley. Nothing in the trench. This.
20 centimes. Not much for buried treasure.
The hole was freshly dug. Just the size for a corpse, but no corpse. Very strange. You saw no one there recently?
I didn't. Bernard, can you... Bernard! I'm going to turn this down. There.
Are they still digging?
They've gone. Well, they weren't going to find any signs of Murchison out there, now were they?
Let them drag the river.
If they can work out which one.
I failed. That's all there is to it.
Bernard, it all went surprisingly well.
With Webster, especially. I couldn't convey what Derwent was like. I did my best, and I failed.
Bernard, the police were looking for Murchison, not Derwent.
The night we heard that Derwent died, I was in a studio I'd rented in Salzburg. I had a vision of him standing in my room. He said, "Carry on, Bernard. I'm not sorry." He meant just go on.
Well, there's no need to go on anymore.
Go on living. Painting for myself. Not forging. I should never have agreed to that. And it was you who began it. You're the origin. That's why I detest you.
Well, we're all trying to wind the thing up now.
Sometimes I think I'm... Cynthia won't see me, you know.
That might change.
Yes, if I can begin again. God, I've got to... Let's go for a walk. I did my best work in Salzburg before all this Durwood business. Sin and I used to meet up for coffee and cake. Tomaselli's on the Altstadt. They say Wolfgang Amadeus himself had coffee and cake at Tomaselli's on the Altstadt.
Didn't you and I once...
I mean, can anyone imagine Mozart living to be 80? Durwood had a decent span, you see. It was absurd I prolonged it. At your instigation. All that can be rectified, though. This was the grave, wasn't it?
They've done a tidy job of filling it in. And 20 centimes for their trouble. Oh, burn it! No!
Ah! Detest you. Not the first. Not the first man you killed. You who began it. You're the origin.
I'm not dead. No, worse. I'm alive but trapped. Slowly entombed by Bernard above. And now my head seems to be inside my sweater, a bubble of air. Legs. Use my legs. Find a rhythm. Push. Kick. Twist. Push. Kick. Twist. Find a rhythm.
They say Wolfgang Amadeus himself had...
They say Wolfgang Amadeus himself ate cold earth. At Tomaselli's.
To Bernard, I'm a dead man. You got it, Jeff?
I don't understand. Look, Tom, it would really be a help if you could come over to London.
I don't think that's wise, okay?
It's important for Durwood to make a public appearance again. We've been going back over the paperwork. If he could at least confirm the books for the police. Mrs. Murchison has provided them with receipts.
Is Mrs. Murchison coming to London?
Next week, yes.
I have to go. If you hear from Bernard, you tell him I'm a dead man. I can't explain now, all right? Bye.
Tom, what has happened?
Kim, come in.
To your head.
It doesn't matter.
Let me look.
It's not a big cut, or it'd still be bleeding.
Wash, bandage.
No, I need to go to London.
Tomorrow. Here, sit.
Ow, no.
Go tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Hold still.
Ah!
Here.
Ah!
British European Airways wish to announce the departure at flight number BEA 389.
I want to come with you.
But in London, I shall not be Tom Ripley. I will be...
You and your games. All for that fool Bernard.
If anyone calls, I'm somewhere in Paris and you do not know where.
Buy me something beautiful and I will do this.
Of course, Cherie.
Mr. Durwood, how'd you do? I never expected to have the pleasure of meeting you.
Inspector, I'm sorry, you were wondering where I was? I was with some friends in Suffolk.
So I was told. I'd like you to meet Mrs. Murchison.
Mrs. Murchison's the vital one. Short, razor-cut, red blonde hair. bright blue eyes, no nonsense. I keep my hands inconspicuous in my lap, just the glint of the Mexican ring.
You saw my husband in London, here.
Yes, for a few minutes, yes. Perhaps 10 minutes.
He was going to visit a Mr. Ripley in France. He wrote me that. He didn't make an appointment to see you later?
No.
Do you happen to know this Mr. Ripley? Mr. Tom Ripley? I understand he has some of your pictures.
Yes, I've heard his name, but I've never met him.
I'm going to try to see him. He's the last person who saw my husband, Howard. But what I would like to know, Mr. Derwent...
Don't be fussy about the mister.
...is if you think there's a ring, a conspiracy, involving forgeries of your paintings.
No. Not to my knowledge.
But you've been in Mexico.
This gallery, I've been assured, knows of no group or ring, nor of any forgeries. And I saw the picture your husband bought. You know, the clock?
And that's been stolen.
So I'm told. But the point is, it's my picture.
My husband was going to show it to Mr. Ripley.
He did. Mr. Ripley told me about their conversation.
I know. My husband had his theory. Of course, he might be wrong, but supposing he's right.
But with respect, I believe I know my paintings every bit as well as your husband, Mrs. Murchison.
Yeah, of course. I don't mean... And besides this Mr. Ripley, did my husband mention anybody else he might see in France? Any other owners of Derwoods, perhaps?
Not to my knowledge. Mrs. Murchison, I understand how distressed you must be feeling. But as for your husband's concerns, I do know that people here are scrupulous. And I believe they've verified with the inspector the origins of these paintings.
They have provided some documentation, yes, but really...
Perhaps this Mr. Ripley will be able to shed some light on the whole affair for you.
2 days later, she comes to Belombre with a critical eye for my Derwents.
You know, Mr. Ripley, my husband thought this painting was a fake, too.
I hoped I dissuaded him about man in chair.
No, he wrote me about it before he left here. It's a shame if it is. I like it.
Do have a seat, Mrs. Murchison, or if you'd like, I could
He
get you...
wasn't feeling ill before he left. Howard. Or do you know of any appointment he had?
I'm sorry, no. He seemed in very good spirits, and he didn't mention any appointment. What is strange is that his Howard's painting was stolen from Orly.
Yeah, it's never been found. But then, neither has my husband or his passport.
Oh, here, have some more tea.
No, thanks. Inspector Webster told me that you were a friend of Dickie Greenleaf, who was killed in Italy.
Yes? But he wasn't killed. It was a suicide. I'd known him for about 5 months.
Who might have killed him, do you think? And why?
I have no ideas on the subject. Dickie killed himself. He had no reason to have enemies.
Nor did Howard, Mr. Ripley. Unless he found some evidence about the forgeries. Who the forgers were, perhaps.
My eyes meet hers. I hold her gaze. Soon she will leave and it'll be over. For the present.
My husband was very confident of his theories in spite of your views, Mr. Ripley.
I'm sorry. I really know nothing about
I just hope he's still alive somewhere. Anyway, I must go.
Farewell. I feel sorry for her. I'm sorry I killed her husband, but I can't really reproach myself for that now. If I did, I'd be like Bernard wherever he is, wanting to tell all at the expense of several other people. But I have to tell Heloise.
You killed Murchison here, Tom? But why?
To save others.
The what people? You mean this fool Bernard?
I mean everyone who's been keeping Derwent alive when he's dead, including me.
Dead? But his new paintings
are fake.
You have been doing the forging?
I acted the part of him, that's all. The forger, that's Bernard. But he wants to stop.
Oh, Tom, it's you who must stop. Stop now. If you are exposed, my family will have nothing to do with you. Why must you help this idiot Bernard?
I have to find him.
Why, Tom?
Suddenly, I can't hear her. And I have to find him, fly off to find him wherever he might be.
There's a cafe in Salzburg. Thomas Ellis, on the Altstadt.
Also eine Melange, gnädiger Herr?
Yeah. And one of those cakes, please.
Bitte schön.
No sign of Bernard in Tomaselli's. But when I close my eyes, there's a giddiness. So it's out and up, Linzagasse, in and out of every medium-priced hotel in Salzburg, struggling to be understood in my bad German.
Wollen Sie sagen, Sie sind Bernard Tufts?
Nein. I am Tom Ripley. I'm looking for Bernard Tufts.
The next morning, it all begins again. No hotel within a half-mile radius of the cafe has ever heard of him.
Are you busy this morning?
No, thank you.
My God, do I look that desperate? And I turn away from the woman, and there he is, just emerging from Tomaselli's. Yes. Half a block along, he ducks into a doorway. Zimmer und Pension. Blau something. Half hour later, he's out, shuffling along. Handsome in profile, you have to say. A hollow in his cheeks that didn't used to be there. Desert boots worn away. Duffel bag over his shoulder. He turns into the Mozart Museum. Why not? Admission 12 shilling. He's leaning over Mozart's clavichord. The window. Might he see me in the reflection? I dodge behind a door jamb. And then Bernard's in another room among miniature stage models. Cozy Van Tutti. I Domineo ad Infinitum. Yes, that's what he was playing so damn loud at Belle Ombre. He turns his head unexpectedly. And I see how it is. In his eyes, fear. I'm a ghost to him. I'm not really there. I follow into a restaurant where he stares at the ghostly me, then leaves without his meal. I drink to his health. A little too much. By the late morning, when I'm definitely going to speak to him.
Ein Englischer?
Yeah, an Englishman, Bernard Tufts.
Ah, but he checks out an hour ago.
Did he say where he was going?
He said nothing. He is ill, your friend?
Nothing that death wouldn't cure. I checked the railway station and even the airport. Has anyone seen a crazy man with a limp beige raincoat carrying a duffel bag? Finally, I'm back to the streets near the hotel.
There is no depression for the artist, except that caused by a return to the self. The self is that shy, vainglorious, egocentric, conscious magnifying glass.
He's on a bridge over the Salzach. A man staring into a mirror. He sees only failure and shame. And then he turns from looking into the river and sees me.
Bernard! Bernard!
Leave me alone!
A dance begins. A dance of distance. He walks past suburban houses, neat and trim, and a country road. And it's as if he wants me to follow, for in the city he might turn left or right and poof, vanish. But there he is. First above me, and now ahead as I climb, striding up through rocks, and he suddenly disappears.
Bernard! Bernard!
There's no cry. When I hurry past some oaks, there's the duffel bag. Squatting at the edge of, must be an old quarry. Something crumpled 30 feet below. A disarranged something in a limp beige overcoat. Oh, Bernard. A curious, curious murderer.
Jeff Constant.
Jeff, this is Tom in Salzburg. It's Bernard.
Sorry, I still haven't understood.
No, Bernard's dead. Down a cliff. He jumped.
You mean he killed himself?
We've got to make an end of Derwood, and this is a chance to do it. Don't tell the police Bernard's dead yet.
I don't understand, Tom. What happens now?
Now I burn the body. 2 people can die. 2 in one. The imaginary painter and his forger.
What do you mean Derwent died in Salzburg when you told me many years ago he's already dead?
He's got to be proven to be dead. When Inspector Webster comes...
He is coming here?
Tomorrow. I just want you to say...
But how can you kill a man who is already dead?
I'll show you tomorrow. If you say you told Derwent Tom went to Salzburg, all right?
Cherie...
It's easy to remember because it's the truth, yes?
Oh, what is true, what is not true?
You spoke to Derwent, madam?
Oh, yes. He wishes to speak with Tom, but I tell him Tom is in Salzburg to look for Bernard.
And you'd gone to Salzburg to look
When
for
someone
Bernard
says Bernard, I still see the flesh of his thighs melting.
Remind me, what was the name of your hotel?
The Goldner here. It's just around the corner from Tomaselli's where,
They say Wolfgang Amadeus himself
ate cold earth.
Sorry?
Where Bernard used to go a lot. Tomaselli's, when he had a studio off the Altstadt, he painted a striking thing called Cold Earth there, in the old days. Anyway, I found Bernard on the second day.
Not Derwent?
No, I found Bernard first, then Derwent found me. Heloise had told him where I was staying, hadn't you, darling?
I believe I write the telephone number here somewhere.
Well, that's all right, madam.
And then the three of us met twice, actually. Bernard seemed the more depressed to me. I have a couple of notebooks Bernard had with him, if you'd like to see it.
I separated the two of them in the burnt corpse with a stolen shovel from some garden. The ashes had to become Derwent's, but the jaw and the teeth, they were irrevocably Bernard's. They had to be separated and thrown in the river. Along with the ashes of his confession to forgery and all the other pages in his notebook I couldn't afford to show to anyone.
I sometimes feel I am already dead. I never was Derwent, but I can no longer be myself.
Are you all right, Mr. Ripley?
I'm fine. Derwent had talked of killing himself before, you see. He said he wanted us to cremate him, Bernard and I. I, at least, hadn't taken it too seriously until Derwent turned up all groggy on pills, and we walked, the three of us, in the woods, and then he told us to wait a minute. He had something to show us, and we waited. Bernard gazing into nothing, and then I heard a cry.
And you ended up with the duffel bag how, exactly?
I called for Bernard. Called at his hotel, you see, and we retraced our steps, and...
He was staying where, Bernard?
The Diablo something in the Linzagasse. But later that day, the day we burnt the body, he said he had to leave the pension. He thought he was being watched. His mind was all over the place. He told me he had to change hotels, and I said I'd look after his bag, and then the next day, well, he never came to our rendezvous.
You asked other hotels for him?
Without success, I think. Well, you can read what he wrote. I suspect the river. He had been in a suicidal frame of mind for a while.
He hanged himself.
Hung himself?
In effigy, in the cellar. Show him the note, Tom.
And that's my cue to usher the inspector up to my changing room, to the suitcase, with the ashes and the notebooks from the duffel bag.
I kept all the remains and everything up here, so Madame Annette wouldn't, disturb things. This is one of Bernard's notebooks.
I gaze often at the river. It's a fast river, and that's nice. That's perhaps the best way to go. Off a bridge one night when no one is around to shout,
save him. Nothing by Derwent?
No. This is all I was able to retrieve of him. Ashes and...
Yes. People who saw Derwent in England have spoken of a Mexican ring like this.
Well, that'll be your taxi for Melun.
Perhaps Madame Annette could ask him to wait for 10 minutes?
Sure.
Did Derwent know about your association with Richard Greenleaf?
He never mentioned it.
It's odd, though. Don't you agree? 3 men disappear or die around you. Murchison, Durwood and Bernard Tufts. There's rather a lot of unanswered questions. Unexplained deaths.
Still, when you've been to Salzburg yourself...
In your company.
Of course. I'll await your call. I'm sure we can clear up whatever needs clearing up. Scraping away the last of the moss, squashing the little bugs that emerge from the cracks in the paving, burying them carefully in the warm loam. Everything in the garden is lovely, in a dying kind of way.
In Ripley Underground by Patricia Highsmith, dramatised by Alan McDonald, Tom Ripley was played by Ian Hart, Heloise by Helen Longworth, Bernard by Benedict Sandiford and Jeff by Stephen Hogan. Murchison was played by Malcolm Tierney, Madame Annette by Caroline Guthrie, and Webster by Stephen Critchlow. The director was Claire Grove.